Exclusive. Chilling reason Epstein wanted to wipe out Andrew and Sarah Ferguson relationship in 2011. Convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was provided with a reputational management plan to rehabilitate his image, and he was advised to cut all ties with Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. Andrew and Sarah Ferguson might wish they could wipe their ties to Epstein from the public imagination, but it turns out the desire went both ways. In 2011, the convicted sex offender was provided with a document that aimed to rehabilitate his public image, and Epstein's team advised him to cut all ties with the former Duke and Duchess of York. The document emerged with the recent release of thousands of files from the late financier's estate, and saw the billionaire advised by PR experts on how to rebuild his brand after his 2008 guilty plea for child sex trafficking offenses. The advisors from Osborne Partners LLP told Epstein he needed to bring renewed focus to his philanthropic work, and clean up the search results on Google under his name, as well as cutting the disastrous ties to Andrew and Fergie. The document was produced after the Daily Mail had published the allegations made by the late Virginia Giuffre, who accused Epstein and his girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell of sex trafficking her, and Andrew of sexually assaulting her 3 times, allegations Andrew firmly denies. Since it is an unambiguous objective of the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday to take down Prince Andrew, the document says, it is disastrous for you to be seen in any way to facilitate his lifestyle, or to help with his well-documented issues. Their sole interest in you and Ghislaine is as a means to attack Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson. You need to studiously avoid any involvement whatsoever with the couple, which will lessen the interest and we can establish a constructive relationship on your behalf with them. In the fullness of time, it will be possible to run a positive piece about your philanthropy. The document also advised that over a period of a year and a half, an attempt to clean up search results about the sex offender should take place, the advisors saying this should initially take place slowly before it intensifies over time, so that it should not appear to be calculated. However, PR expert Maya Riaz told the Mirror that this plan to try and alter search results to influence public opinion, and rehab Epstein's image, was fundamentally flawed and unlikely ever to be successful. Discussing the reputational management document, the expert explained, what stood out immediately is how heavily it leans on a classic crisis containment tactic such as controlling the narrative through search dominance. In theory, this approach can be effective, but only when the core issue is reputational noise, not reputational harm. Once someone has a criminal conviction, especially for such serious offenses, attempting to counterbalance it by pushing out positive or neutral content becomes almost impossible. Search engines prioritize authoritative, high-interest coverage, and in cases like Epstein's, the public and media appetite for that information will always outweigh any strategically seeded content. So even with significant resources, the plan was fundamentally flawed. You cannot out-optimize a fact of that magnitude. At best, the set tactics might have diluted some speculative commentary, but they could never have shifted the center of gravity away from the conviction itself. In regard to the advice Epstein received to cut public ties with Sarah and Andrew, Maya said, the advice to distance himself from Andrew and Sarah Ferguson is also very telling. From a reputational standpoint, associations are often as powerful as actions. For people like Epstein and Maxwell, who operated quietly behind the scenes yet relied on influence to maintain access, proximity to high-profile figures can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, they lend credibility and on the other, they heighten scrutiny. Andrew and Sarah were already carrying their own reputational challenges, and aligning with them would only have amplified Epstein's vulnerabilities at a time when he could least afford it. His team would have recognized that any additional exposure, especially alongside individuals attracting media attention, would worsen his situation. Overall, the PR expert explained, without behavioral credibility, it's incredibly difficult for someone to change their public image. In essence, the strategy outlined in the document reflects a common misunderstanding, which is the belief that reputation can be fixed with visibility alone. In reality, true reputation management requires both narrative control and behavioral credibility. Without the latter, no amount of PR architecture or search manipulation can hold.